Hi there, Kevin Furman here with episode 8 on the Clone Wars Wisdom series. And so I take the opening statements that were put up by the animated series. It was one that I watched with my kids when they were younger, and I enjoy this whole Star Wars thing. But it's not really about Star Wars, right? This is a wisdom series. So I'm taking the opening statements that were put up at the beginning of each episode and just more or less... I mean, I don't do a ton of research on this, right? I'm not trying to become the expert in wisdom or something like that. I just think maybe I've got some thoughts that might help people think through some ideas that they've had, or maybe think about it a little bit differently, and maybe clarify some thoughts that maybe they thought in the past, or maybe just to bring up a whole different idea that you haven't even thought of before. It might help you. So that's the idea with the whole series. And clarifying thoughts usually bring about more wisdom, usually speaking. Not always true, but it does seem to help quite a bit. All right, so on to episode 8 here. So the statement that they made is, heroes are made by the times. So I had a few thoughts about this, but one of them is heroes are made. That first part is it's not heroes show up or heroes are found. Right? Heroes are made, meaning you can become a hero in your time. You don't have to wake up a hero to be the hero when it's needed. And I guess what I'm saying is you don't have to shy away if your personality is such that I'm just not good with getting in front of people and leading and things like that. And that's a whole different conversation about leadership isn't a particular thing. In fact, all personality styles can be great leaders. And there are great examples of all of them. And depending on how you break down personality styles, we get all detailed about it. But in general, all personalities are great leaders if they use the strengths of that personality style. Right? And actually, if people, as a side note, people that try to lead or obsess over their weaknesses when they're leading is a better way to say what I'm trying to say here. That's where it creates problems. When you obsess over your weaknesses and you think, man, I'm just not good at that, I'm not good at that, and you try to lead, leading from weakness rarely is successful. Rarely. It can be done, and through forcing things, sure, whatever. But it's not a fun process for you or the people you're leading, to be blunt. So leading with strengths is always good. And so if you again going back to my statement, if you think you're someone who's not a hero, for whatever that means to you, and that's one part I would if we had a conversation, I would say, well, what does hero mean to you, right? How come you don't see yourself as a hero? Now, most people, and in a few conversations I have with people, right, people like to think of themselves as the hero in their own story. That's why, and we're human beings are kind of wired that way. It's sort of a survival mechanism in that we don't necessarily portray ourselves in the worst light we can. We tend to portray ourselves the best light we can. We justify our actions. Even when we make mistakes, it's justified or minimized in the way that we think of it, etc. Now, there's the reverse of that. It goes along with sort of like the coin thing, where one side of the coin, we portray out in public our best selves. That's why Instagram and etc. social media is filled with the perfect pictures and doing awesome things all the time. Nothing is ever wrong. This fantasy kind of thing that people put out there. And which is, there's nothing wrong with being excited about the things you're doing. I think that's great. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing in and of itself. But when all you ever do is only portray that and not wrestle with the other side of the coin, which is our internal criticism that almost everybody on the planet has, where we just make a mistake and then we obsess over the mistake for way too long and make that mean way too many negative things about ourselves, okay, to be somewhat vague, but that's sort of the scenario that happens in our brain. And so people that, tend to listen to that side of the coin have a very difficult time putting themselves in a hero position, right? We want to be the hero in our story. We want to feel like we're, okay. And so we justify that stuff. And even on the negative side, right? So if we're listening to, you obsess over it, but then you justify it. So you just don't, end up puddle of goo on the floor every day, right? So you've got it's a survival mechanism. This is kind of main point, I guess, about that. So so to tie that all together, heroes are made out of necessity, right? When you have a challenge that approaches you, a problem, a disaster, whatever, right? A situation or an opportunity, right, that comes along, you seize upon that or you don't, right? And so the event creates the opportunity to become a hero, so to speak, to be the one that helps solve the problem, or to be the one that solves the problem, or to be helpful in solving the problem. All those are kind of hero-like qualities, right? And so I'm going to expand it out to just like, it's not a hero, it's heroes, right? So many. It's not one person that saves the day, like some super person, right? It's heroes, meaning many people can contribute to the solution to an issue. Okay, that's a good thing, right? That's a real good thing. So there's that. Okay, and then by the times, right? And so that's sort of what I was referring to already. By the times meaning what's happening right now. People aren't necessarily driven to be heroes by something that happened 500 years ago. It already happened. It's already done, over with. There's nothing to do about it now in the sense of that event. Now, the future is similar too. It's a little different, right? It's sort of, if you project to the future and say, well, this is going to happen, we got to be careful, right? And if we do X, Y, Z, that's going to make sure that this other event thing isn't going to happen, right? And that's that's also seen as heroic in some ways, and depending on the situation and your value set and all that, how that plays out, the details of that's a whole different conversation. But future is different than the past, right? The past doesn't necessarily create heroes now. It can inspire people to want to be a hero, to take on a challenge like someone of the past. And I think that's why it's great to learn about history, learn about people who overcame challenges and things that were difficult. And what did they do? What were they thinking is actually the thing I'm more focused on. It's not so much what they did, although that's very, very important. I want to know what their thinking was that caused them to act. What was it that they went through on a mental state check-in to make them take those steps to make things happen? And to overcome the challenge, so to speak, or to help fix things, or to help save whatever the situation was. That's what I'm interested in a lot. And I think it's not, doing is, doing the thing is the thing. Right? That's what you do, right? You do the action to make stuff happen. But before action happens, there's a thought process that goes on. So our thoughts lead to our feelings, and that gets put into our value system and all that, which leads to action. So action is the thing we can see and we can point to say, yeah, this person came in and saved these bunch of other people that were being, oppressed or whatever. Okay, as a weird example, but just, we could look at that and say, that was heroic, that was a great thing they did. Okay, well, what got them to the point where it was unacceptable to let those people still be oppressed? What was that? What were they thinking? What did they go through themselves and evaluate through their value system to say, somebody has to do something, here I am, I'm going to do something. And not just somebody has to do something and then wait. Right? So the times, right? The harder the peril, the bigger the peril, I guess, the bigger the hero. Right? And I think that's kind of what this statement is getting to, in that if things are pretty smooth sailing, not a big deal. Oh, we ran out of ice. Oh, here, I'll go to the store and get some ice. Oh, you're the hero, right? Yeah, not going to make the evening news on that one, because it's just not, that's not dramatic enough and to warrant a lot of attention. You can't, technically you are the hero, right? You took care of the solution, or took care of the problem, and with the solution, you got the ice, boom. Yay, you're the hero. You got us all sorted out. Great. But again, that's because it's not very rocky, right? Things are pretty smooth sailing, so to speak. Not a huge heroic event. Anybody could have stepped in. It didn't take a lot of skill. It didn't take a lot of courage, even, whatever, right? It just was like, yeah, I'll go get ice. No big deal. because ice is plentiful. I'll go to the freezer, go get ice, as opposed to some other thing. Now, the times may be a lot more at peril, right? So there's a natural disaster. There's a hurricane that comes blowing through somewhere, and people decide to, hey, there's going to be others that are going to be hurting. I need to go help get people out because they're in danger, right? That's pretty heroic, and that's a big deal, right? That's putting your life at risk also and helping others. That's a little bit higher stakes than getting ice for the party. So I think that's it's kind of what they're getting at with the statement, right? And they're making it, again, kind of a blanket statement, which is good. I think that's a great idea. You don't want to get necessarily too specific. You want it to apply to thinking. Well, how do I want to live my life? Do I want to be someone who steps up and just offers solutions and offers to help out, or do I just complain about the situation and not do anything? So in a big sense, right? So I think heroes can be made. Anyone can step up and be a hero. That's one of the things that popped into my head right away, is heroes are made, meaning you can step up and be a hero at any given point, at any given circumstance, if you're willing to let go of any of the fear or overcome the fear. You're not going to let go of it, actually. So you're going to have courage, which is doing things in spite of fear. So it's not that you're fearless. In some ways, that's a bad thing, right? But having courage is overcoming the fear, doing the thing in even with the fear with you. Even though you are still afraid, you act. You still take care of what needs to be taken care of. All right, and then by the times, really, the other thought I had was, depends on the times of the level of heroicism that is needed from someone or people to take care of the situation. So anyway, again, this is not one that takes a lot of deep thought to sort out per se, but I think thinking of it in a lot of those different terms can help motivate a little bit, in that you have a choice, right? It's a choice to be a hero. You're not just you don't wake up, okay, I'm the hero today. Like, well, yeah, we're all heroes in that we're solving issues, right? You could, not to make it too blanket, like, we're all heroes, aren't we all awesome? Which is, yes, all that. But I think it's more of, hey, there might be a situation where you could just do extra, do more than what's expected of you. That's being a hero in this situation, right? That's the times, depending on the times, how tumultuous it is, it might require more effort, right? If it's not a big deal, not much effort, but you're still being a hero. So being a hero in your own life and in others' lives makes things better, right? Rather than stepping back or not taking action and letting things just kind of unfold around you, letting life just happen, and then complaining about it because you didn't like what happened. Being the hero would be, hey, this needs to get taken care of. All right, I'll step up. I can work on that. And if I need help, I'll ask for help, etc., etc. Okay, so I don't want to get too far off the beaten path here, but that's what it is. So, yeah, I would agree with the statement, and there's a little bit more going on here than just face value, of course, and which is great. So there you go. There's episode 8. Heroes are made by the times. Take care. We'll see you next time.